Budapest Secret Agreements, Episode 3, Orbán, Moscow, and Nuclear Power Plant. Hungary is a country in the heart of Europe that is increasingly disregarding European values. Its government is not just ignoring the EU's position on Russian aggression, it is actively cooperating with the Kremlin. And these are not only common political interests, but also projects in the energy sector.
In the coming weeks, the Russian state corporation Rosatom will begin construction of 2 new nuclear reactors at the Hungarian Paks nuclear power plant, Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó said.
It is worth noting that Péter Szijjártó is recognized as the person who establishes connections between Viktor Orbán and Vladimir Putin. He coordinates energy issues and everything related to the supply of oil and gas. Péter Szijjártó is in regular contact with government representatives and financial and industrial groups in the Russian Federation.
The Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó was in Moscow on Thursday discussing the purchase of hundreds of millions of cubic meters of natural gas.
In 2014, Hungary officially signed an agreement with Russia's Rosatom to build 2 new reactors at the Paks NPP, namely expanding the nuclear plant from 4 operating units to 6, by building 2 new third-generation power units. In particular, the construction of the Paks 2 nuclear power plant worth 12.5 billion euros, which literally ties Hungary to Russia with high-voltage wires. The project is financed by a Russian loan of 10 billion euros, with a repayment period of 2045. This is the largest energy loan in the history of the EU. Unlike other EU countries, Budapest has not imposed sanctions against the Russians' Rosatom. Moreover, a strategic partnership agreement has been signed, under which the Russian company is building 2 new reactors. The contract was signed back in 2014.
L'accordo, siglato dal Primo Ministro ungherese Viktor Orbán e dal presidente russo Vladimir Putin, prevede la costruzione di 2 nuovi reattori a Paks, un progetto da 12 miliardi e mezzo di euro finanziato per l'80% con un prestito russo rimborsabile in 30 anni.
From the very beginning, the project was not just criticized, but called a political bribery scheme. After all, 90% of the construction was being transferred without proper competition to companies affiliated with Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's entourage. The decision to begin earthworks at the Paks 2 facility was made by Budapest at the end of May 2020, even before Rosatom received the necessary permits. In August 2022, Hungary issued Rosatom with a license to implement this project. Budapest obstructed the European Commission's investigation into the lack of transparency in the agreement with the Russian Federation. Hungary emphasized the political subtext and pressure on the country. As a result, the European Commission was forced to agree to the implementation of the project. In 2023, Viktor Orbán, despite the position of the state-owned company Paks 2 ZRT, which is responsible for the construction of Paks 2, did not allow Rosatom to be ousted from the project and replaced by the French company Framatome. The decision of the Hungarian Prime Minister was made personally by him, despite the fact that it contradicts national and European legislations. The government has classified some of the documents for 30 years. This allows not only to hide the scale of the cooperation, but also to legitimize the embezzlement of funds under the guise of state interest. According to European investigations, at least 5.2 billion euros from the project budget may have been lost at the stage of contracts, subcontracts, and intermediary services, which often lead to offshore companies linked to Orbán's family and members of the Fidesz party controlled by him. A key role in these processes is played by the Minister of the Interior, Sandor Pinter. Short biography. Pinter is a Hungarian politician and former high-ranking police officer. He served as Minister of the Interior from 1998 to 2002, and since 2010 has worked in the offices of Viktor Orbán. Pinter was born and raised in Budapest. He graduated from the Budapest Police Officer College in 1978. Until 1991, he worked in criminal investigation departments. He received a degree in law and political science from Eötvös Loránd University. Sandor Pinter, a former police officer and current curator of secret contracts. He is called the Man of Russia in the Hungarian government. According to available information, it is through Pinter that most of the agreements with Moscow, not only technical, but also financial, pass. Around 1994, Sandor Pinter received a significant amount of money from the Russian Federation, which was later used for the election campaign of the ruling Fidesz party in Hungary. In 1998, this political force won, and Viktor Orbán was first elected prime minister. Sandor Pinter controls the leading energy companies in Hungary by appointing people close to him to the supervisory boards. However, it is worth noting that all managers are appointed to their positions after approval by the Kremlin. Pinter lobbied for appointments to the governing bodies of leading energy companies, including Paks too, from among people close to him.
The contract with Rosatom is political corruption, disguised as an investment. All without tenders, with contractors who have direct ties to Orbán. This is energy colonization of the country through a corrupt shadow channel. Orbán and his political team are doing everything they can to prevent other players in the energy market from developing their capabilities. They are manually allowing only close associates to manage companies in this sector. On the one hand, Orbán wants energy independence for his people, but on the other hand, through total corruption, he is driving taxpayers into decades of debt.
Financial flows tracked by OCCRP journalists show 1. About 40% of the spending are going through offshore companies in Cyprus, the British Virgin Islands and Dubai, linked to Orbán's business partners. 2. One of the key roles in the kickbacks is played by the company Duna Energy, registered in the name of a relative of the energy minister. In 2024, concrete structures were damaged during construction. This led to a 6-month delay and additional costs of 450 million euros. After that, a new redistribution of contracts began. The investment director of one of the subcontractors, Stroymechanizacja, was arrested in Russia for a bribe of 30 million rubles. This was ignored in Budapest. A member of the Hungarian National Assembly reported the collapse of an internal wall. The main risks are the tilt of the southern wall and the ingress of water into the facility, which could threaten not only the construction but also the safety of the operating Paks 1 NPP. The public learned about this only thanks to independent media, which discovered a document in which the Hungarian Atomic Energy Authority has ordered to suspend work and conduct an investigation into the incident. Only after public disclosure was this document presented to a parliamentary committee, and the authority's leadership confirmed that it had already made complaints about the state of the construction site's insulation. The parliamentary hearing on this issue also revealed problems with the political responsibility of the Hungarian authorities, poor quality materials, non-compliance with technology, and the exclusion of independent building contractors from the construction of the Paks 2 nuclear power plant is facing not only the collapse of the main structures, but also an environmental crisis. Environmental activists and experts are sounding the alarm. Namely, the nuclear power plant will use significant amounts of water from the Danube for cooling, which will lead to a significant increase in the temperature of the river. There is a risk of radioactive contamination of the environment that could spread to neighboring countries. Hungary has no long-term solution for storing the radioactive waste that is accumulating. Site preparation and infrastructure works are destroying local flora and fauna. Let's look at graph number 1. Structure of Paks 2, 2014 to 2024. Customer, Government of Hungary. Contractor, Rosatom. Credit, 10 billion euros from the Russian Federation. Control, Ministry of Interior of Hungary, Sandor Pinter. Status, active construction. Secrecy of key documents, 30 years. Losses returns, up to 5.2 billion euros.
The Paks 2 nuclear power plant is not only a political threat, but also a technical one. Security breaches, opaque materials, Russian contractors without EU certification. This is a foreign base on the territory of the European Union. In fact, this nuclear power plant has become a major problem in terms of nuclear safety. Hungary does not have its own specialized storage facilities for spent nuclear fuel. This fact is becoming another lever of influence on this country from Moscow.
According to independent experts, the cost of the project could rise to 18 billion euros. This would be the largest burden on Hungary's public debt in history. But energy is not the only area of pro-Russian ties. In 2021, Hungary signed a contract with Gazprom to supply 4.5 billion cubic meters of gas annually until 2036. Payment is in rubles through Gazprom Bank, which violates the sanctions regime. Let's look at graph number 2, Hungary's energy dependence on Russia. Gas, 85% of imports from Russia. Nuclear fuel, 100% from Russia. Paks 2, built by Russia, loaned by Russia, controlled by Russia. Payments in rubles. This whole system is not just foreign policy. It is a corruption model in which energy projects become a source of shadow profits for government officials. It is thanks to these schemes that Orbán and his entourage maintain power, through money, media, and political cover.
Pact 2 is corruption wrapped in concrete and energy. The EU has no access. Citizens have no control. Only bills, which they will pay for the next 20 years. Besides finances, everyone somehow forgets about the ecological catastrophe that is caused by the concrete filling of thousands of square meters of land and the excessive heating of the river. The water level in our beautiful Danube has already risen. We are sitting on a nuclear barrel that Moscow is filling.
Today, Hungary is the only EU country that is not simply not breaking ties with the Kremlin, but is deepening them. Contracts, loans, gas, nuclear power plants, secret services. All this creates a new axis of influence for the Kremlin within the EU. At first glance, it is a member state of the European Union. In reality, it is a country that plays by Moscow's rules. Follow our investigations. We are already collecting new scandalous materials about the corruption of the top leadership of Hungary.